Welcome back to episode 149 of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Dernlan, and I'm joined back in studio today by World Champion and four-time NCAA Champion Logan Stieber. Logan, thanks for stopping back in today.
Yeah, glad to be in here. Last week was fun, so excited to do it again.
Yeah, so we had so much fun last week. We thought we would bring you back in not only for this week, but the next several weeks and actually go through each one of your seasons. I thought it'd be an interesting point of perspective to go through each one of your championship seasons, see how things changed, evolve your perspective for, in different parts of your career. But really, we just wanted to add some context to that
Yeah.
and get some history behind and some thoughts, but behind those things. So I guess we jump back, and I guess I should say to the listeners that are tuned in last week, just like last week, this is a live podcast. So any questions, any texts you want to shoot to us, we'll read them over the air and see what kind of questions people come up
Yeah.
with. So let's go back to 2011, 2012. And I know when we were talking before we jumped on, one of the big things that helped, I don't want to say maybe springboard or catapulted you into your redshirt freshman year was the Junior World Championships.
Yeah.
So talk about that experience just a little bit.
Yeah. So I made a junior world team in the spring of 2011, and then I wrestled in the junior worlds, and I never wrestled kind of international before. So I'd wrestle, all these tournaments, and I wrestled the U.S. Open, and all these different things. But it was cool to make a team and travel. I think it was in Romania, so kind of go over to Europe first time doing that, and so I went over and I wrestled and made the finals. I ended up losing to a guy who had a really good slide by. It's pretty much all I knew from him. I didn't really know too much of who he was, what the deal was. But then, of course, the next year he went on to win Olympic gold for Azerbaijan. So it was cool for me to wrestle in that big event, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I'd always thought that I was good. And I had such great partners in the room with Reese and Bunch and Jay and just so many guys that it was cool to wrestle somewhere against these high levels. And I'd heard so much that the Junior Worlds was a big stepping stone. You do well there, and then the next step is making senior world teams and teams like that. And while that took me a while to do, it kind of showed with at least my opponents that I wrestled. The guy I had in the finals won Olympic gold, and the guy who won the weight class below me, Kenichishvili, got silver in the Olympics, and of course he won in 2016. So,
And I think that's one of those tournaments that once you've been through it and understand the experience, most people pretty much regard the Junior World Championships as the second toughest competition behind the Senior
yeah,
World Championships.
yeah,
And most people, I think, in our mind, in our country, we're like, no, that's like 20 and under, right?
yeah,
Like there's better guys than that, isn't there? But really, on the world stage, that's the second toughest
yeah.
tournament.
I mean, usually, you see with their guys is the great nations. They send their guys to junior worlds, they medal high or they win it, and then the next year they're on the senior world team, or they're backup on their senior world team, but they're winning every other freestyle event. So yeah, it's definitely considered one of the best tournaments in the world, and yeah, really really helped springboard. Because after that, I was like, okay, I don't know what I was preseason ranked, but I knew that I had a chance to make a lot of noise.
And I think a lot of what we're talking about is jumping levels,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a term that you hear a lot. And a lot of people try and understand, what does that mean, jumping levels? Well, it's a combination of things. And I think people may point to the junior worlds and say, oh, the achievement of getting second. But was it the achievement or more so like the confidence you took away from it?
Yeah, I mean, it was the confidence. It was for the achievement. I was bummed for losing. I was like, man, I for most of my life, I'd won everything. So for me to lose, even though it was such a great event, I was like, what the heck? Like, even though the guy was awesome, I still thought I should have won. So, the achievement was cool, but it was a big kind of motivation. Like, okay, I did well here. I didn't accomplish what I wanted to, but I did well, and now let's use this to get me going for the college season.
So So from a confidence standpoint, just number one, knowing I can compete with the best guys
Yeah.
in the world. But then two, there's a different mindset though too from going from folk style and freestyle. And even though you hadn't competed internationally, you had a high level of experience on the senior level
Yeah.
domestically. Um, how was your approach at that time, like differentiating freestyle and folk style, or was it similar? Like, hey, if I'm winning here and beating the best guys in the world, I can do the same thing in folk style. Or was it a little different, or was there still some questions in your mind heading into that freshman year? Like, all right, I still got to figure out this college folk style scene.
Yeah, I mean, I wrestle my freestyle kind of in a folk style kind of variation. So I felt that if I could wrestle well in the freestyle circuit and compete at, almost the highest level, that I would be in good shape for the folk style. And I knew that there was different challenges that, of course, I was going to come, but I knew my top game in folk style was good enough. I knew that it was good enough to be exactly where I needed in folk style, and I thought that my on my feet game was there. And after wrestling in the senior level and the junior worlds, I was very confident that okay, I can take down anybody, and I can start to defend some of the best in the world. And I knew that if I could do that, in the world, I could give myself a chance to do it at the college level.
So before we jump into the actual season itself, how much was how important was the training experience and actually going through the training camps? Because at that time, right around 10, 11, 12, Zeke was really putting his stamp on the regional training system, the age group
Yeah,
system, and kind of integrating all those age group levels to train under one roof, which we
yeah.
really hadn't seen much before that. How important was that being around the senior level guys, going through those training camps, seeing some of these guys that you knew that you would probably face the next year in the folk style season,
Yeah.
and being around those guys over a summer and just battling with them on a
Yeah.
daily basis?
I mean, so it was crazy because I had the opportunity to go out to training center and wrestle some of these guys, and I had just wrestled with I just wrestled in the senior level, Coleman Scott and Mike Zadek, and these guys who were so good, and then I got the chance to wrestle them again at the training camp. And I remember wrestling Mike, and at the training camp, and it was we did like a match, like a 6 minute 2-2-2, and I don't know if he was on the world team that year, but we wrestled kind of a match or whatever, and it was real close, and I can't remember if he won close or I won close, but it was close. I wrestled well, and I remember they weren't that satisfied. They weren't that they were kind of not mad about it, but they wanted more. So then they're like, "Well, you guys just keep wrestling." And so we wrestled for another 15 or 20 minutes, and I held my own for a while, and then last maybe five minutes, I got my butt kicked. He kind of broke me a little bit. Um, so, but it was a good experience. I mean, wrestling some of these guys, and it's I was pretty happy with my wrestling, and then just wrestling longer and harder and getting different feels. It was really important, and to travel overseas with the team and see traveling with these guys who were all my age level, but all probably all going different places. It was just a great experience. I mean, it was something that I didn't take into account. I won the junior nationals. It's funny. I won the junior nationals when I was in high school. I didn't try to make the team. I just didn't know what it was about. And then when I tried to make the team in my first year of college, I actually lost at the nationals, but then I won the trials. So it was a great experience. It was really really good, and it helped my learning and helped my probably trajectory really a lot.
Let's touch on this one thing before we actually jump into the freshman season. How much was the unknown of traveling internationally for the first time and learning how to take ownership of your actions when you're away? Because you've been competing all over the country since you were a young kid, like
Hmm.
everywhere in the United States you'd gone around, and there's a flow to and a comfort to
Yeah,
competing internationally. And once you get past, like, oh, I'm in Iowa and I show up to a random
yeah,
gym and I weigh in, and it's like, well, once you as you've been doing it from a young kid up into the adult, and now traveling internationally, the unknowns of
Yeah.
international travel, the unknowns of what you're eating, you know, the showering, eating, all the daily creature comforts that we're accustomed to. Like, I think people don't understand, like, that battle tests you. That makes you
Yeah.
tough. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, it does. It's yeah, it's so funny because you get so used to your routine, and then now you have to do all these different things, and if you don't have, it's easy to go get a Pedialyte in any state in the country or a Gatorade, but if you're in Romania, they might not have that. So you're gonna lose because you didn't have a Gatorade or a Pedialyte or whatever.
And those are things we
Yeah.
always build up in our mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta have this. I gotta have this after I weigh in.
Right, you get all
Well,
OCD about it, and it's like, it's something that, and a little bit, it helped me a little bit. My first time helped, and then the next time helped, and the next time, and at the, now after doing, 10 whatever 10 15 trips, I feel like nothing could phase me because I've had all this different, adversity in my traveling and wrestling. So it it was cool. It helped a lot, and it continued to help. So any chance, I guess, as a tip for anybody thinking about doing something like that is, just do it because it'll help you a lot. It'll change your mind. It'll change your life because you think you need all this stuff, and it's, sometimes you just need some clean water and power bar, and you go.
it's amazing how
Whatever.
simple things are
Yeah.
so meaningful. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is really all I need. Like,
Right.
in my mind, if I was in the States, I need A, B, C, and D. But over
Right.
here, I'll take what I can get,
Yeah.
and I'll love it, and I'll appreciate it. And
Yeah. Yeah. So.
so before we jump into the season, we have a couple questions. The first one is directly relating to your academy. Sorry, there's no name attached to the email here, but it says, what challenges are you seeing while managing managing the academy uh, during COVID-19?
Yeah. So I
We
mean,
kind of touched on this last week, but I
yeah.
think it's good
Yeah.
to
So I mean, we had a really, the big one was the grade school junior high states. But once we get through that, we had a really good spring schedule planned. We were gonna have some different Greco guys, freestyle guys come in and help, and we were really excited for it. Um, but kind of what I've preached and kind of put out there to our members is use this time as a break because everybody knows once things start opening up again and we can kind of get back to a normal, everybody's going to be wanting to go extra hard and do all these extra things and really work. So I'm trying to tell our guys is, listen, there's no events going on right now. It's not happening. There's no event at the end of April. There's no freestyle event that's going to happen in May. It's just not going to happen. So use this time to relax and go outside and play other sports and run, right, and do pull-ups and push-ups and build up your wrestling mind, because once things start opening up again, I would imagine everyone's going to hit it hard and really start get it back into it. So there could be events in the summer, late summer. So I don't know if training hard right now for an event that's going to be at the end of August is the best idea, because it's just lots of months of hard training for a young kid in the academy. So look, take time. I always, I played football in the fall when I've grown up, so that was kind of my break. It was fun. It was easy. It was another sport. So you don't always get to choose your breaks. But now, relax and go outside and play. If you're lucky enough to have a brother or sister that you can wrestle with or whatever, then maybe get on the mat or the carpet or whatever you want and roll around a little bit. But it's not a time for lots of structure. I don't think. I think that there will become a time when we'll need lots of structure, but now it's a time to relax and play outside. And if you want to wrestle a little bit, if you can wrestle a little bit and get stronger and watch wrestling,
Yeah.
because again, you don't sometimes also with wrestling, you've seen it, I've seen it. Sometimes people they overtrain, they train all 12 months, and it's like it's they're training hard, and then kids get burnt out and they hate the sport. So
which
you
is
know
so easy to do, right? And I
yeah.
think I think so many parents have best intentions, and that's
Yeah.
one of my concerns right now. Like, there's a lot of parents that are home with their kids right now. Like, what are they doing? I'm like,
Yeah.
man, they could go really over the edge
Yeah.
if they wanted to. But I really want to jump into the season here.
Yeah.
Um, did have another question, not quite a question. This is from Brian Summers from New England. Um, Brian, thanks for tuning in. Wasn't a specific question, but I do want to let you know, like, we do have a ton of beanies and jackets that you can rock. Um, you can jump online. So, Brian, thanks for your question about our gear. Yeah, we have all those things. So, got a fully functional online retail store that's operating every day. So, any orders you can jump online and process them through. But jumping into the season, so obviously your springboard and the Junior World springboarded you into your freshman season.
Yeah.
Um, what what were some of your takeaways about looking back now, how you navigated that first season, not only in your first collegiate season, but your first Big Ten season,
Yeah.
and how you became even more aware of what is the animal, which is the Big Ten, and then the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so it was a fun year because my brother was also starting on the team, and so we kind of had a lighter first half of the season. So I think he might have lost. I guess we wrestled in Vegas. I mean, he might have lost twice, but for me, I didn't really have too many close matches. So for me, it was okay getting my weight under control, getting my nutrition down, and just kind of getting prepared because I knew the Big Ten season in January was going to be really tough. So it was fun to wrestle. I think we wrestled, the Open tournament. I think I wrestled Cash Kuroga maybe at the Eastern Michigan Open, and I remember he was All American, and really just tough kid. And he was my first just really high quality uh, college wrestler I wrestled. But I remember after wrestling Cash, I think I scored a lot of takedowns and I felt good and I felt really in shape. And I said, okay, you know, I'm I feel really good about myself. I feel like I'm on the right track, and ready to go. And went to Vegas. I wrestled. I remember I wrestled this kid from Michigan. I forget his name, but he was good. He reversed me. He Petersoned me. I think he Petersoned me in the duel too. Kind of a weird position. He was real funky, but kind of a weird, wild match. And then in the finals, I wrestled AJ Shop, and I'm sure you guys know who he is. Right, awesome wrestler, awesome on top. And it was probably one of the few matches where both guys chose top. So I remember first period, I think maybe up 5-1 or 5-0. I think I turned him. And then he chose top. Second period, I'm like, okay, here we go. And he was really good. I got a either reversal or escape on him. And forget how the rest of the period went. But then third period, I chose top too. So it was a very interesting. I'd like to. It'd be funny to see the stats. How many times that's happened in a match. Um, but yeah, really ended December really well. And in January, we kind of talked about this in the beginning. We had our first dual meet after the break, and this is something that always was tough for me. I only lost once in the after the break, right away after the break, but it was always tough. So sometimes I didn't like my senior year. I was at Iowa, I won, but I was struggling hard. And there were a couple other matches where I struggled because you kind of not that you didn't train over the winter break, but it's just different. You're kind of the coaches isn't they're not in your ear, and maybe my weight gets too high from Christmas or whatever. So I remember we had a double dual meet Friday Sunday. First one was against Nebraska. Second one was Minnesota. So my Nebraska kid was good. He was I think his name was maybe Ridge Kiley or something. He was known for wrestling close matches, and he had close matches with some tough guys. So he, I tried and tried. I could not get the major. And next match, my brother kind of mimics everything I do. So if I was struggling a little bit, he was probably struggling too. So the next match, Hunter wrestled a kid, Jake Soufflon, who's really another tough kid. Hunter took him down, armbarred him, turned him, and got reversed. And after that, Soufflon went just turned him and turned him and turned him, and I don't know how bad Hunter got beat, but Hunter gassed hard and got beat by 8 or something. And it was just I was like, wow, Hunter had lost matches, but I didn't expect him to lose that match. So that was kind of weird. And I remember, so then we traveled to Minnesota that night or the next day, and again, I remember I actually felt better because I had always held my weight down. So I drank and ate a little bit. So I remember I was running at night before, and I was like, you know what, this is good. Most people are working out. I was always kind of doing nothing and hoping the weight would float off. So the next day in Minnesota, we were preparing, and I had a kid named David Thorne. I'd known his family. I actually wrestled him in freestyle once, and really tough kid. And I think he was ranked high. Maybe I was ranked third or fourth. Oh shoot, actually, I think I was ranked second. So Saturday night. So kind of rewind a little bit. Saturday night, Ramos beats Oliver in Iowa. Ramos was third. No, maybe Ramos was second. I don't know. We were 1, 2, 3. So Ramos beats Oliver. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, wow, I win tomorrow, and then I think the next 2 weeks later we had Ramos. I win that. I'll be #1 in the country. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So then again, Sunday preparing for David Thorne. And getting all warmed up, feeling good, and I walk out on the mat and they announce Chris Dardanes, and I was like, wait, what? I'm supposed to have David Thorne. I have his backup. I'm like, I don't know. I wrestled these guys before in freestyle, but
because you knew the brothers, right?
Yeah, I wrestled them. I wrestled both of them to make the junior world team the year before. But so they were good, and they were, I remember, hard to wrestle, but I didn't really know too much about him. I was thinking, David Thorne, I'm just gonna go out there and shoot a bunch, get to his legs, and try to turn him and pin him. So I was like, wow, okay, different guy. Okay, I still gotta wrestle. And I remember shooting and shooting and shooting, and getting so tired in the first period. And I took him down finally, and this was up 2-0 maybe at the end of the first. And I forget how the rest of the match went to the end. And I think we were tied. We were tied maybe 4-4 with like 15, 20 seconds left. And I was like out on my feet. So I remember he took me down. It's kind of funny. He took me down, and match is over. Coach Ryan was trying to argue the call, or maybe even challenge. I don't know if they had challenge. He's trying to argue the call, and I remember thinking in my mind, I just took my ankle bands off and shook Chris's hand, and I was like, I don't want overtime. I was too tired. I was like, I already know. I already know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I lost. I was like, I was cool with it. I was like, there's nothing. If we wrestled in overtime, I was going to get taken down again. Didn't matter. I was out on my feet. I was tired. It wasn't happening. Yeah, it's my first official college loss.
So let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, number one, what was your takeaway? Like, you were prepared for Thorne.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how much did you learn? Like, hey, I really have to focus on me.
Yeah. I mean,
that seems like one of those first opportunities. Like, it doesn't do me any good at this level to focus on anybody else because things could change. I need to focus on myself. And I think that's one of the big things that it's that progression from high school into college. Like, no, the more I internalize, the more I process me, the better I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So was that one of the biggest.
Yeah. I mean, you always
lessons?
hear it like, worry about yourself. Don't worry too much about your opponents. And it's always like, yeah, I get it. And then when it happens, you're like, wow, I probably should have been more worried about my shot selection and more strategy of an overall plan. And I think that match was a big kind of stepping stone for me to have a match strategy always. I mean, it was always before that. It was like, okay, I'll shoot and take him down, and if it doesn't work, I shoot again and take him down. But I had to have shot in, I mean, 10, 12 times and just nothing. And Dardanes is strong in shape, and I couldn't get to his leg. And I finally got there, but it was at a cost that was too much.
Because when I look at you and I think about your career, I always think about you as a volume guy when it comes to shooting. And you said that was a plan against Thorne, like volume.
Yeah.
I got to get to his legs, keep getting to his legs. I'm sure that always seemed like your approach to most matches. Get to his legs as many times as I can, and I'm going to give myself the best.
Yeah.
What did Dardanes offer a little bit different than what Thorne was? Like, that was just enough to take it out of you?
Yeah. I mean, I just think that the hand fighting was a lot, and I wasn't quite prepared for that. I think that I didn't do the best job probably the week 10 days before leading up to it with my weight control. Um, so it's just that's in a tight match against someone who's as tough as Dardanes and can wrestle that hard. If you don't do the right things and your moves don't work, you're gonna get tired. It's just it's it's just what's gonna happen. So my moves were not working. Wrestling's easy until your moves stop.
Right.
It's like you can be in the best shape ever, but if your moves aren't working, you're gonna get tired. So
It's like the old
yeah,
Mike Tyson, right?
yeah,
Everybody's got to play until they get punched in the face.
yeah.
Type of
So
thing.
it is, the moves weren't working, and I just got tired, and it's just I knew that and we'll talk about it here in a little bit that I had to have a different strategy along with getting a little bit better shape and a little bit more focused. I had to get a different strategy. Um, so it was
So,
crazy. It was, and then like I said, we kind of talked about before. My brother and I, we didn't lose too much same day. I don't know ever, but the next match he went out and smoked this guy, and it was like everybody on the team, was like making fun of us. Like they're like, man, nobody beats my big brother, because he also Dardane's brother.
right.
So he went out and just took a bunch of takedowns and smoked him, and I was like, wow, all right, Hunter, good job.
See, this is what I really wanted to get into in year one is like you're learning how to navigate this all for the first time.
Yeah,
Like the other thing is like you've referenced a couple of times, like learning the importance of where you need to be with your weight cut
yeah,
on what day and how you balance that from Friday to Sunday or Friday back to back weigh-ins.
yeah,
Like these are all things like I wanted to get into, like learning these things because moving ahead into year 2, 3, and 4, it's like, all right, I know where my weight needs to be. I know where my mentality needs to be, but this is like this first time through is like setting everything up for the next 3 years after
yeah.
this,
I think
right?
that was my first time actually. The Friday Sunday weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't have any duels like that before January. So yeah, that was my first time. First time with the Friday Sunday.
And even like the other dynamics that are fascinating to me is like with your brother, you've wrestled your whole life with your brother,
Yeah,
but in high school you just never get beat.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean,
Just
the stakes were probably there a couple of times a year,
yeah,
but now it's like week in a week out, the stakes are pretty much the same
yeah.
every
Wrestling
every
tough
time.
guys, and yeah, it was. Yeah, we never. I don't know if we ever lost. We lost once same day freestyle, but you know, it was very rare. Especially while we were in college and below to lose same day just didn't happen. Or same time frame. So yeah, so that was crazy. So I lose that dual meet. Um, and I don't know if we had Iowa next or 2 weeks later, but then we had a matchup with Iowa. So this was probably this is definitely a top 3 moment of my college career. Um, I was thinking back the other day, just when you look back at your career, I don't think about I don't think about the me winning or the championship stuff like that. It was great, but you remember like the moments with your friends and with your team and stuff. That's stuff you remember. You remember the road trips and stuff, dual meets. So this Iowa dual meet, we never beat Iowa, and they had a really good team. And on paper, we it was one of those matches where it's like, man, if they get a couple upsets, they could do well. It could be a close dual meet. But it was like we were ranked fourth and they were ranked second. We were ranked third and they were ranked first, or something like that. It was every match we had a highly ranked guy, but they were just a little bit higher ranked and just made the matchup look not that great. And I remember, man, I remember this dual meet was so much fun. So
And then the reality, you had to kick the door down because we were talking like it'd been what 60 years.
yeah, I think 50 or 60 years that we had beaten Iowa, and of course anybody watching the match wasn't there or didn't remember what obviously that match. So it's been Iowa, and anyone who knows anything or anyone who knows a little bit about wrestling thinks of Iowa wrestling. I mean, they're just the historic program. So
And anybody that's wrestled those guys in that time's like, there's a big difference between being ranked 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 and actually going in and actually beating those guys
yeah,
because we've seen a history up until that point. We've seen a history of highly ranked teams going into Carver Hawkeye and getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
So this one was at home though. This one was at home.
Okay.
But so yeah, I'll go through the dual meet. This was fun. This is really fun. So we had Johnny versus Matt McDonough, Johnny DeJulius. Um, and I remember so Johnny lost. He was really hard to wrestle though, really like stringy and real like hang on your elbows. And Johnny lost like 6-3, and the crowd stood up, clapped. They were happy because it was a win. He was returning champ, you know. Or I think last year, he was champ second or whatever. He was gonna win it this year, so he was awesome, right? Number one. Johnny was probably 17th or something, 14th. Um, Kept it to a decision. He did his job. The next one was me and Ramos, and I remember he was ranked uh, probably second, maybe. I don't know who was ranked first. Maybe he was ranked first. He just beat Jo. Um, I think he just beat Jo. I don't know, but he was ranked second, and I was ranked third, or something like that. And I no score after one, no takedown. Second period, he chose down, and the first time for me to kind of showcase my top. And I remember it's a real teaching moment when we kind of teach and try to show things, and it's you know it took about 50 seconds to a minute of me lifting and returning them to get to something that I had a chance to turn them, and I clawed them, tilted them, got 3 back points, was up 3-0, and wrote them out at the end of the period with riding time. And then third period, I went down, got away 4-0 with riding time, and then nothing. And he tried something like a lat drop or something at the end. So I think it ended up being 7-0, but it was awesome. It was cool. The crowd went nuts. It was one of the coolest moments of my wrestling career. And then Hunter wrestled next, wrestled Montel Marion, who was ranked second to Russell, and Hunter was ranked like seventh or something like that. Hunter beat Montel, and then Cam, my other high school teammate, Cam Sassari, wrestled a guy who was good, ranked, a good guy. We needed Cam to win. Cam won. Crazy match. Was throwing him on his head and stuff. It was fun.
So at that point,
We're starting to roll. We're starting to roll. So, but we had so many matches that we were supposed to lose. Because the next match was Josh Demas versus Derek St. John, who I think went on to win the title. And Demas was wrestling him hard. And I remember he ankle picked him. And St. John's knee was hurting. And I don't know, he had something torn, probably did. But he was tough. Anyways, I think he won the title. So, but Demas ankle picked him, and we're like, oh, his knee all bent, all weird. And we're like, oh my gosh, man, like, what if he defaults? That's crazy. And I'm glad he didn't, because I'm glad he didn't. But he continued to wrestle the match, and Demas beat St. John.
Because you do, like, you want to beat these guys straight up. You don't want to walk out of St. John saying asterisk or like, well, if St. John this or that. Right.
There's always it's just like we would have been extremely happy even if we won and he forfeited because his knee hurt because it was Josh's move, whatever. But it was like it just helps the naysayers, the people who just won't accept anything. It helps when they wrestle the whole match. So so Josh beat him. So now we're like, okay, we only have a couple more until we can clinch it. But again, our next match was Derek Garcia, who was maybe ranked 15th or something. He's me and Hunter's roommate that year versus Mike Evans, high recruit, top 5 guy. And definitely, had to be Derek's best match. He had some injuries, but probably his best match of his career. Ankle picked him like 3-4 times, held him off at the end, won that match. And then we were just cooking. Our backup 57, one of my friends, Joe Grandominico, bumped up to 74 and wrestled their guy Lofthouse, maybe. Another guy ranked high, top 5 probably. And Joe, he's got really, really flexible. So Lofthouse was trying all these things, trying to pin him because they needed it. And he couldn't. Joe lost by 7, which was just awesome. Exactly what we needed. Really needed him not to get pinned.
Yeah.
And for him to lose by 7, it was icing on the cake. And then the next match, Heflin bumped up. So Heflin was our 74. He bumped to 84. Beat the guy to clinch it. And then Andrew Campitano beat another guy who was ranked high for them at 97. And then one of my best friends, Pete Capone, almost beat Telford. He ended up beating Telford the following year at heavyweight. But beat him 7-3 in matches, and it was just, oh my gosh, I mean, there's not. I haven't had too many nights like that.
So let's
It was incredible.
a couple of things that you talked about that I want to pull out. Number one, you were always dominant on top in high school. But having that same level of belief that I continue to turn the best guys in the country in college is a certain thing that you only get that if you go out there and prove it. How much was that when you not only beat Ramos, but exerted your will and turned him on top?
Yeah, I mean, it was something where I after that I felt because he was really hard to take down. So I felt that no matter what, and I was wrong about this, but I felt that no matter what, I'd always be able to get away and get the riding time point if he chose down. And of course, he did get better on bottom, so he was able to escape um, a couple times. But it was like, okay, now I can do it to anybody. You know, I can ride anybody and turn anybody because he was ranked high. So I'm like, if I can turn Tony, you know, I can at least ride um, or almost turn, you know, potentially get a turn against anybody else. So it was really big for my confidence. Um, and it's hard. I mean, to squeeze and lift and return somebody and work so hard for 2 minutes on top. I mean, your arms get juiced. I mean, just absolutely like shredded. And to have 2 more minutes left in the match and to be able to hold up, not give up any scores, and then win, it was really big confidence
Well, it's
booster.
really it's like it's how strong your mind can actually be, right?
Yeah,
Because doing a mat return, anybody that's been in a live situation, if they have to do
yeah,
multiple mat returns at once, let alone four, five, six, whatever it takes to get to the point, like you said, it almost sounded like the breakthrough with Tony was the mat returns. Like
yeah,
I will keep returning you until I break you and you stop,
yeah.
stand up, and you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I was riding the claw and I'd run him out of bounds. I was riding the claw and I'd hook his leg, drag him back down, try to get to the wrist, and it seemed as if it was taking so long, um, and then it worked. And
But
then yeah, and then it
there's that
worked.
there's that tenacity on top, right?
Yeah,
Like it seems like you taught what it you learned in that moment how to take it to that next level riding
yeah,
in college. Like because most guys they get to that point. It's like, as a college coach, I'm like, guys, just keep standing up. Give the guy a reason to let
right.
you go.
Because a lot of
Right?
matches, that weren't as stressful as Tony's. If the guy stood up and I felt confident on my feet, I just let him go.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just get another takedown and turn him. In my mind, it was like, is the energy worth it? Um, but to be able to say, yes, it is worth it and value the position so much. Because if you told somebody that they would win a big match and they could ride on for 2 minutes, then they would value it very, very high.
Yeah.
And they would try so hard. But sometimes people don't think that. I think I'll just get a takedown. But it's hard. And against Tony, it was hard to score takedowns. So I knew that if I couldn't take him down in the first period, and I took everybody down in the first period, that I had to figure out another way to win. And I wasn't sure if I could turn him, right away. But I thought, okay, I'm gonna get my riding time, and see what happens.
So I do want to. I definitely want to jump to the NCAA tournament here
Yeah.
in a minute, but we've got a couple questions that have come in. This specifically is from Ed Alves, and this is talking about Bernie specifically. Um, he wanted to know how much you trained and were coached by Eric Burnett, Bernie, as a kid, and where did he help you the most? If you could pick out like one
Yeah.
thing specifically.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. Well,
Yeah.
I trained with them, probably from 8 years old, 7 years old, all the way to end of high school. So, he was my main coach. 90% of my coaching was from him. Um, but man, I don't know. I mean, man, I'll say two things. So the wrestling thing that he taught me, um, was the chain wrestling, and that was something that a lot of people didn't do. I remember going down to Jeff's camps, and a lot of their guys are so good at takedowns, but it was kind of almost like a one and done type of thing. Single leg don't work. Okay, get back up, hand fight, try single leg again. And so Bernie was so good at the chain wrestling aspect of it and coaching me through that, figuring out if I miss this and I go to this, if I miss this, I go to this. And he he kind of evolved it and did it on top too. If this doesn't work, we go to this. And then all he had to do was just give me little pieces of technique here and there, and then I was pretty creative. But I could help figure things out. And he just kept molding me the right way. So the wrestling thing, chain wrestling, and I think outside of wrestling, he just taught me as he runs his club and how he dealt with people. He was just I've mentioned this before and other things. He just treated everyone so well, and he was so. I mean, he's just one of the most respected guys in sport, and I think it's because of the way he treats people and the way that he his values. So I mean that helped me as much as the wrestling did. But I would imagine that's probably more of a wrestling question. But
Yeah, but I think most people don't understand. Like, even, I mean, every youth coach is probably one of the most impressionable people
yeah,
ever in people's
yeah, for
lives,
sure.
ever, ever.
Yeah,
And those are typically the things you take away. Is like, yeah, obviously Bernie taught you as much as you could possibly learn from a wrestling
yeah,
standpoint, but your takeaway is like, no, it's how he connected with me,
yeah,
how he inspired me, how he motivated, how he got into my head, that I allowed him to push me the way I allowed him to push me, right?
yeah,
Those are, I think,
yeah,
for me, the most important things
yeah,
ever.
yeah. So it was good. I mean, I can't. I mean, I could never, never be more thankful and repay, the Burnett, the whole family, uh, the late father, Ron, and then Eric and Scotty, just did so much for me and, my brother. So, yeah, awesome people. We,
So
we, we can get into, we have another question or we want to
we
do?
do. This one
Cool.
is from, I think you know this guy. His name's Cody Magram.
Okay, here we go. He's good. He's 2 for 2 with the
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah. So this is going back more to your club and training the athletes you're currently training at Stieber Elite. And Cody wants to know what advice you can give parents when it comes to their child's athletic performance.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's a good question. Thanks for the question, Cody. Um, Man, I would say so it is tough. And remember, me saying this is my experience with both being a son, and also now coaching. I don't have any experience in actually having a son or daughter who wrestles, but um, I think, man, you have to if you want them to do well and like it long term, they have to love the sport. So initially, man, you have to get them in an environment where it's fun. They like to do it and it's fun, and there's got to be a good mixture of structure and these are the rules, but also it's got to be fun. And so I would say that's got to be a key. And what my parents did for me was they surrounded me with great people. Um, so my dad could be a lot sometimes. He could be a tough coach when I wasn't with Burnett's or whatever. But he surrounded us with such good people that if he didn't know what to do or maybe he thought that he did the wrong things, he could always ask. So getting your kid into a place, whether it's a high school coach or a club coach where they trust them and they can kind of lay off a little bit because it's tough to I don't know. I just feel like it'd be tough to be a dad and a coach because you have to wear different hats and you kind of can blur some lines. So if you can let the coaches coach and you be the parent, man, it can help a lot because wrestling is stressful. It's hard, and you have to believe. I remember my dad. My dad. We talked about this. He's many times, but he would get mad sometimes about me doing something or losing a position or a match or whatever. And I was like, I wasn't trying to lose. You got to believe me that I was trying to win. I gotta believe me. I didn't want him to take me down. So you know, long-winded answer here, but if you can put them with a coach that you trust, man, just let the coaches coach them, and you just be a positive support because it's just hard. I mean, sure, if you wanna win, next week, you could be crazy negative and threatening and all this stuff, and the kid will probably be scared to death to lose. But you want it to be long term success. Being positive, positive and supportive and loving. And I mean, sometimes, man, it just the kid doesn't need like the kid knows that they did bad. They don't need to hear it again. They might just need a hug.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And again, I can't put myself in the shoes of somebody who has a son or daughter who's wrestling and not competing to how the kid wants. But yeah, and I'd say that this is a tough one, but if I beat, let's say, hypothetically, I beat Cody in a wrestling match, which would probably happen. It doesn't make my dad better than his dad. That's kind of joking about the me and Cody, but that's something you see a lot where
You do.
the
You
dads,
definitely do.
it's more about the dads or the moms, and it's like that's just a really big recipe for disaster. So I yeah, so hopefully that can paint a good
No,
message.
I think that's great. And we've been going for a while now, so I do want to jump ahead all the way into the NCAA tournament. I know you did experience one other regular season loss that year.
Yeah, I can talk about that.
And that was to Jo,
Yeah.
to Jordan Oliver. We're so at this point you probably are getting a good idea of like, okay, I'm in there. I'm in
Yeah.
the mix.
Yeah.
I'm in the mix.
Yeah.
But I really need to test myself. Had you wrestled Oliver up until this point, or was
No.
that the first time?
Yeah, he's always a little bit older than me. So, I went to a couple tournaments and he was in at tournaments, when we were growing up, but he was just older.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how important in your mind was it that you actually saw him during the regular season?
Yeah, it was really important. I mean, so I wrestled him a month before the nationals. We wrestled at Oklahoma State National Duels, and I got in on his legs a bunch, a couple of times. Couldn't score. Really good close whizzer. And then he took me down, blasted me a couple of times. And the big thing was he rode me for like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, cross face cradle, and I think he got locked up once, but I just kind of hung in there. But it really wasn't that crazy close. He took me down. I couldn't score on him, and I couldn't get away. So that next month we worked on getting away. And I knew he had the crossface cradle. So if you watch the match, I think he lined up on the right. You watch the match, whatever side it was, I would right off the whistle, I raised my hand like this, so he couldn't crossface. So it's kind of fun if you watch the match, you can see that in action. So my goal was before, right, and I wrestled Dardanes in the quarterfinals, so I got that match back, which is cool. Wrestled Ramos in the semifinals, close match. So then my goal with Jordan was to not give up a first period takedown, take him down, score my goal, me score in the first period, and I had to get off bottom. I knew that I couldn't take him down a bunch of times. Like my strategy against Zane, which we'll talk about, was different. I knew I had to try to not give up any takedowns. So going into the match, I was pretty. I felt really good about it because he was returning champ, and I made the finals. So I was like, if I lose, I'm supposed to lose. It's kind of bad thinking, but it's real thoughts. So these aren't the coach talk thoughts. These are real thoughts.
Let's back it all the way up to the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah.
Because I think because number one, this is your first 3-day tournament, right?
Yeah.
Or wrong? Most guys go into the NCAA tournament. This is your first
3-day college tournament.
3-day college tournament. So that is a bit different.
Yeah.
Like weighing in several days back to back to back. Again, number one, knowing how to balance your emotions from where you're from session to session, overnight into day 2, and then the part I want to talk about at the end is navigating that first day where you're sitting for 10 hours before you can go out there and actually compete. So going in and at this point, you've won four state titles. You were in the finals of the Junior World Championship. So you've won junior national titles. You've been on the stage.
Yeah,
you've been on the big stage. But getting into your first NCAA tournament is still a different experience going through it the first time. So day one, Thursday, 2012, heading into the tournament, where was your head at?
Yeah, so I mean, I was I was thinking, okay, let's go one match at a time, and it's set up similar to the high school tournament, high school states where you're you wrestle a match, you have a long break. You wrestle a match, you have a long break. So I was thinking, okay, I just need to one match at a time. Let's get the match, go back to the hotel, relax, and chill out. So I had a good first day. I think I had actually a kid from this area, Troy Christian,
Jordan
Tome. Was that first match or second match?
Second match.
Who was my first match?
Actually, Mason Beckman.
Yeah, Mason. So I wrestled well. Mason actually beat my brother in high school, so I had to get him back. But no, he's a good guy.
Payback for the Dardanes, right?
Yeah,
Hunter took care of it at the duel. You took
exactly.
care of it,
Yeah.
right?
So I wrestled those two, and it was good matches. I wrestled really well. I think tech fall on a pin maybe, and so I felt good about that. And just my weight was pretty good. I wasn't too big at 133, so after my matches, I was good at just putting my sweats on and sweating a little bit, biking, and then my weight was good. So after the first day, I felt really good, and
So then,
I had Dardanes in the morning. And
yeah. So then heading into the day two, Friday morning for me was always one of the most exciting experiences ever
yeah,
because it's the All American round,
yeah,
and to win that national title, you got to punch your ticket and get through to the semifinals. So being in that first, talk about that first All American round experience, the quarterfinals. There's a different there's just a different feel and electricity in the arena. It's tangibly
yeah.
the stakes have risen and you can feel it everywhere, being down on the floor, being in the tunnels and everywhere. So was your emotions? Number one is like, okay, I'm in the quarterfinals. This is the All American round.
Yeah.
And I'm facing the one of two guys that beat me during the regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I kind of came into it um, with a game plan, and what I didn't have, probably before that loss, I never had a clear game plan for all of my matches. So for different people, specific game plans, but for all of my matches after I lost, I had a new game plan. Just take them down, ride hard, and if I can get to a turn, great. If not, let's just one at a time. And with Dardanes, I knew I had to be a little bit more selective with my shots. So I scored a couple takedowns, rode them for a while. I think I was up 7. I think I might have won 7-5. I think I was up 6-1 late in the match, and I got a little bit tired. I still wasn't able to be um, not tired. Unfortunately, he just wrestled hard, and I didn't wasn't in as good a shape as I needed to be. But so I gave up 1 or 2 takedowns at the end to win maybe 7-5. But I was kind of when you're up big and kind of giving up takedowns just to not get turned or pinned, not make any mistakes. So I felt really good about it, and it was like, okay, he's good, he's in shape, but it didn't matter. I built up a big enough lead that I was good to go. So I felt really good after the match, and it's one match at a time. So even if you looked at that match at a dual meet, you might be like, oh my gosh, Logan, gave up takedowns late. What are you doing? Like, but in a national tournament, I'm like, it just I beat him. He beat me before. I beat him. I'm in the semis. I'm an All-American. Let's go. Like,
And really, like some guys, they can never, like it doesn't matter. Some guys, no matter, regardless of the situation, they can't get over it. And just like, hey, you won. Who cares?
exactly.
We're moving on. Some guys like, it drives them crazy and it carries over. And I think it affects them from round to round instead of like, hey, you got your hand raised. Move on. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
right?
I was very happy with it. I was good. I said, win the match, move on. I got Ramos tonight, and it was okay. I gotta score a takedown. If I score a takedown, I'll win.
Now heading into that, and I want to know your approach because this is the third time in less than 3 months that you're having to beat this guy. You beat him in the duel. You beat him in the Big Ten finals. How is your approach towards that guy? Because I think everybody's different.
Yeah.
With guys that they face repeatedly over and over. And I've always heard the story like, okay, you beat him once, good. That second time is tougher.
Yeah.
But that third time is actually the toughest. And if you can get through that third time, you kind of know you
break through. Yeah.
you own this guy forever.
Yeah. So I mean, I was really prepared for a tough battle, and I was prepared the first time I wrestled him as well. But I was really prepared. I was prepared for the hand fight. I was prepared for it. I was prepared to actually win the match 1-0. I thought what was going to happen was if I didn't score, I didn't think he would score. I thought that I would ride him out. He would, or no, I would get away and he wouldn't choose bottom. And I was prepared to win 1-0, and I was going to be very happy with the 1-0 win. It was kind of funny to think about it that way because you always score, but we were realistic. We knew that he was good there. We knew that he probably wouldn't go down. So I thought, I'm prepared to win 1-0. Fine. And I don't think anyone scored first period. and I think that he chose down second period, and I was surprised by it, but I was happy, and I think I got a little bit with my claw, a little bit you know overextended, and he almost reversed me, but I kind of scooted out and got away. So it was a whatever. Or maybe I got down. Maybe I went away. Went down. I forget, but it was good. I think it was 1-0 maybe 1-0 after the second, and maybe he shows on his feet. I think he shows. I think I got away second period, and then third period he shows on his feet. I took him down right away. It was up 3-0, and then so this is what happened. I took him down right away, up 3-0, and then I was okay. I'm in good shape now. Riding, riding, riding. Got overextended, and he reversed me. So then it's 3-2, and then I got away 4-2, and then he got in on my legs with like 8 seconds left, 10 seconds left, something like that, and it was close. I rolled him through. I remember we were my maybe it was his chair, his coach's chair was right in front of me, but in the backdrop were the Ohio State fans. So 3, 2, 1. I was like, oh yeah, it was there because it looked like almost I could have been like cheering in their face, but of course I wasn't.
You're looking
yeah,
past
yeah,
them
yeah.
to
And we were
Ohio
kind of at
State.
an angle, so it wasn't. It definitely didn't look. But if you were really looking deep into it, maybe you could say. But it was yeah, the sort of Ohio State fans were in the background. So then it was exciting match. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
So now you've got the rematch against the other guy the only other guy that put a blemish on your record during your freshman year. That's Oliver. Before we get to the match itself, take me through just a quick recap of the entire day, because that's a lot of people don't understand. There's actually a strategy that you almost have to apply to the day, and it's got to apply to the individual too. You've got
Yeah,
to know how they like to manage their day, where they need to be. But the one thing that's hard to do is just hang out in a hotel room for 10 hours,
yeah,
waiting for 7 o'clock to come around to go
yeah.
wrestle the biggest match of your life.
Yeah, so it's funny. I'd heard stories. People went to the movies and stuff like that, and just tried to waste time. So I wasn't gonna do any of that. But I remember in high school, we always had to. We had a long break for the high school finals. We always had to work out that morning. It was hard, and it was like it's kind of stressful. It's a hard workout, and I felt confident in the finals. It's high school states, but I remember my dad wanted me to do that, and I remember I asked Lou. I was like, "What do you think?" And he was like, "Oh, you probably just stretch a little bit, get on the treadmill for 10 minutes." And I was like, "I'm gonna do that. That sounds a little bit better." And so I did that, and I just hung out, and I watched. My brother was coming back for third and fourth, and the rest of the team were wrestling. I think Heflin and maybe somebody else. Cam, Heflin and Cam, and so I went and watched. I enjoy wrestling, of course. So I went and watched, and just kind of hung out, and time went fast. Time went fast. I think I warmed up with Hunter. He probably warmed up with Cam. I just ran 10 minutes on the treadmill, biked for 10 minutes, and I stretched, and then I watched a little bit of wrestling, and went back to the hotel room and just hung out.
How much of it was a benefit? Because that's when the team started coming together. Like we,
Yeah.
we talked about the win against Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and actually we could have actually probably got into Cliff Keen a little bit more.
Yeah.
The performances of Cliff Keen from
Yeah.
this young group,
Yeah.
and where you guys were positioning yourself, and the runs you guys were going to make
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. How beneficial was that you had a group?
Yeah. It was.
Like that was an outlet. Like you can watch Hunter, you can watch
Yeah.
Cam, you can watch the other guys on the team, and like
Yeah, it was great just because it gave us something to do. Gave us something to cheer for, and I knew that I could get excited at 11 a.m. It wasn't gonna hurt me for 7 p.m. So I knew that I could get excited to watch our guys and cheer for them, and I think helped me out, help my parents out, just so it's less stressful, not thinking about the night,
yeah.
and I was relaxed. Like I said, I was confident. I thought that I could win, but I knew that if I didn't, I was like, yeah, I'm in, supposed to take second, and again, it's probably not the best way of thinking, but it's the truth, right? And I could tell you that I always thought that I was going to win and going to pin them and all this stuff, but that's just, not true. I thought that I had a chance to win but I was confident knowing that if I didn't, I had a really, really good year.
Yeah, I
So
think anytime you get to that point, you got to find a place in your mind where there's freedom, where I can
Yeah.
actually have freedom to go out and compete. And I don't care. Like I would tell my guys, look, everybody's different. Whatever it takes for you to get in that
Yeah,
place
get that place.
to
Yeah, for
have
sure.
freedom, I don't care if that's telling yourself that you can be King Kong,
Yeah.
or it's just like, hey, I'm here. Nobody maybe expected, or some of those
Yeah.
maybe lies, not lies that you tell yourself, but you've got to be able to have freedom
Yeah.
to compete. So that makes complete sense. Now, before we get into the match itself, how much of a benefit, if so, was there having Jay in and around you, and knowing that Jay just came off this same experience
Yeah.
a couple of times just a couple years previous to you, and having him close to you, was that helpful to have
Yeah.
him
I mean,
around during
yeah,
that day?
it was really, really, really helpful. I mean, because he could help, just keep me relaxed, keep me confident in my abilities, and keep me confident in all the things we worked on. Because, like I said, I had a month of hard work of preparing for Jordan. Knowing that if I was going to win, I would have to beat him. Um, it probably be him in the finals. So, just really, just kept me confident in what all the work that we did. Whether it's my shape or the technical stuff, and just kind of giving me the insights of what's gonna happen. This is a time frame. Run the stage, whatever. So yeah, it was really beneficial.
So going into the match, from an execution standpoint, and I know it's different for other people. Like I know the guys that I coached that night at that tournament, they were all different. So when you're approaching it the first time, was there a game plan the first 30 seconds? There's an overall game plan for
Yeah,
the entire match, but was there something specifically you wanted to get off in the first 30 seconds to get you engaged in the match, get you in the
yeah.
flow of it?
I wanted to, and this is what I started doing. And sometimes I stopped doing it and get a little bit stressed, and then you know went back to it. When my mind, when I was fully engaged, but I wanted to use the first little bit to feel it out, kind of like, okay, relax. Any last second nerves that jump in, once I start wrestling, they can be pushed away, feel a position out, and then get on my attack. So that was kind of the plan going forward. Use this time. I knew I wanted to score a takedown in the first period, and I didn't want to get taken down. Um, so as the match goes, the first, I think, 12 seconds, he takes me down
Of course.
with a slide
Right.
by. So in my mind, so we're tying up, and again, I kind of, maybe I was a little bit too relaxed, hanging out in the tie too much. He's at a nice, basic first year level. Now the execution was first year level, but the move, right? It's a simple slide by.
Yeah.
So it's simple slide by, took me down, and I was like, gosh, man, this isn't good. But immediately I was thinking, okay, gotta get away, gotta get away. I knew I couldn't give up a cross face. So my arm was up, and I got away in about 6 seconds, and I was like, okay, I feel good about that. Um, so just yeah, so I felt really good about getting away. So then I said, okay, now I'm wrestling. Now we're just doing it. I can get away. And I remember I got in on the leg. I got in a bunch of times when I was the first match.
And you talked about his closed
His
wizard.
close wizard
So
was good, yeah. So I think I have to watch the match again, but I did a better job of bumping him, lifting the leg up. And I remember end of the first, I think it ended the first. I did like a single leg back trip and got real close to scoring, like real close. It was almost like if it was challenging at the time, we probably would have challenged it because it was close, whatever.
mhm.
But nothing. So end of the period, 2-1, um, and it was my choice. So again, wanted to go down. I knew at this point, I knew, okay, I need to get away again because he'll get away in the third period, and if no one scores, of course, then I'll have to score a takedown. But I have to get away. So so went down again. This is the fun one where you can see my arm go up like this, um, and again get away like 6 seconds. Uh, so then I got in. I think got a couple more attacks, and end of the second period, I again close wizard. I trip him, almost score. Like this one was also really close, but he got his foot away, and we were on the mat then. Um, and I did a move Coach Jordan showed a long time ago. He called it the Malcolm Ravy. for Lincoln McElravy, and it's I actually don't suggest this as your first move. I think that Jay Joke said it set the program back 10 years because it gets people in a little bit of trouble, and I think there's better ways to finish a single leg there. But at that point, I exhausted all my options. So I think that if you exhaust options 1 through 7, then you go to option number 8. So hit the move. It's a single leg, throw the leg over, hit his far leg, um, and it was like 15 seconds left, and really important lesson for wrestlers, right? End the period on top. So I just hung out, and I think he was a little bit shocked by it. I
So
think.
how much go back to that finish because that's so critical in the sense of like you knew from the previous match and the first couple opportunities you had to, especially how he was getting to his closed wizard, you had to. It wasn't a desperation to do a McElravy
Yeah,
finish.
yeah, I had
It's
to
like
'cause
I had to
nothing
switch
else was
things up,
working. Yeah,
right?
I mean, I got close a couple times with other things, trips. So I just couldn't, and so I had to. I had to another option, and I tried it first couple matches. Not a good job of doing it, and I don't know if it was my technique was a little bit better, maybe he relaxed a little more, um, but whatever the combination was, it worked, and it was good. I had about 15 seconds left, and it was really important 15 seconds, and I rode them for the last like 12 seconds. Then there was like we broke and went back in the middle with 3 seconds, and so that put me up 4-2. Um, and then because that goes, if he gets away, it's 4-3. He gets away third period. Now it's tied up. So that was huge. Um, and then going into third period, he went down, and he felt he I was probably a little bit young in my riding, but also he was just really big, really. I mean, he was taller and pretty not like super thick, but he was just big. So it's hard for me to ride him. So again, I rode him for like 10 seconds.
And it's a guy. I mean, he's a guy, a full size Jo. When he's got a full day,
Yeah,
like
he's big.
he's a big dude.
I mean, he wrestled the 49 the next year.
Yeah.
And didn't give up a takedown.
Yeah, and when he's feeling good, man, when he's feeling good in a big body, like that
Yeah.
guy's a different animal.
Yeah. So
Right?
So I remember thinking like, all right, I can't. I thought, when you're confident in your skills, you're like, I ride anybody. But yeah, I couldn't ride him. So again, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was. Um, and then pretty boring first part of the third period, not a lot of action. And then I remember he got in with like 20 seconds left, and it was close. I rolled him out of bounds. And then the last 11 seconds, right, the infamous scene that I'm sure people on the internet will be yelling at me forever for. Um, so I had no stalling warnings, and I don't know why. I didn't like back away or whatever, but I like to say because it's not in my nature to stall, but I probably just wasn't thinking I should have stalled. So I remember
But usually that's the worst thing, right?
yeah.
You're like, don't ever like in those critical situations, don't ever do something you've never been trained to do, right?
Right, yeah. So, so we kind of tie up. He hits like a double leg, and I remember. So, his head was in between my legs. I remember squeezing. I remember at the moment I was thinking if I can get my stomach as high as possible on his back, it's gonna give me a good shot. And I remember, so he got in there. It was like whatever, 6 seconds left. He's hanging, and the ref was like, "No, two." And I was like, "Okay, that's good." And then he didn't move at all. He didn't try to readjust or anything. So then I was like, "All right, cool." And then of course, right, match is over. Lou and Jay run out and hype it up, and it's hard to, you know, yeah, it was cool, and it was close, right? Honestly, right, it's a close call. It's something that, oh, every time they show the match, you get a little bit of get the people on my side fighting, his side fighting. For me, it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. So
And obviously, I mean, there's
yeah,
rules have changed
Yeah.
since then. Perspectives have changed, but obviously, when you've got two big rooting interests from the two of the biggest college programs, there's going to be strong feelings on either side.
yeah.
I know for me, being objective, being an observer as a coach on the outside, I'm like, no, there was no controversy there. For me, it was like, no, absolutely, that was the right call.
Yeah.
So
I felt good about it. I felt that I was squeezing, and of course I'm gonna think it's the right call, but I remember his semifinal match. He got in the same position, and again, no call, no call, no call. And then when he built up and Futrell bellied out, uh, then he got to two, of course. So yeah, it was close, and I'd imagine that I will be answering questions about it for a long time, and um, yeah, so it is what it is. Next time I will run away. But yeah, it was yeah, it was cool. And I if you watch the match, lots of fun parts, but one of the coolest parts is the only year they did this for me in my 4 years of competing. They gave you two tickets, for your family to sit downstairs. And if you knew my parents at all from the dual meets or anything, they don't even sit together. My mom's usually in the bathroom, my dad's in a corner. I usually try to make sure that he's far away, so when he yells, you can't hear him. So they don't even sit together. So they're like, no, 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 we're not sitting down there, like no chance. So then I was like, well, Hunter, let's do it. And then one of my good friends at the time, and one of my best friends now, Cody Magram, they who asked the questions. Good question asker. They were down in the front row watching. So if you watch the match, after I get down and they're right there, they're giving me big hugs and stuff like that, and it was pretty cool. It was a cool moment, for them and for me, just to be down there and celebrating with my guys. There's nothing. The winning's cool, but there's nothing as fun as celebrating with all your boys, all your best friends. So that was really fun, and yeah, it was good.
Here's a sidebar that I always feel bad for the champions, that you have to give an interview after accomplishing the biggest thing in your life, something you've been pointing to. Within 15 seconds of winning this, you got to get an interview in front of 20,000 people in the arena, a couple million people on ESPN. I'm like, I think that's the most unfair thing that you can do to someone,
Yeah.
because you can't sound good. It's
Yeah,
like,
usually people don't sound good, and I would imagine most people, including myself, would always wish to do it over. I think it makes sense on their point, obviously, to capitalize on the moment. So I don't know if I would change it, to make things better for anybody, but
maybe that's
it is tough, but it
Yeah.
is, you get used to it, and it is what it is, and it's as they like to say, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So maybe that's one of the dumb questions I ask you over the next 3 weeks. What was your best post match interview of the four? I'll ask that at a
Yeah.
later date. But
yeah, I have to look back.
Yeah.
Nothing.
because you had more experience, there's only been a couple guys that have the same amount of experience to get it right. You've had 4 opportunities to get it right. Of
Yeah.
the 4, which of the 4 came closest to getting it right post match? But I thought this was a blast going through this. I'm
Yeah.
interested moving forward, and just so everybody's still tuning in, over the next 3 weeks, we're going to go through titles 2, 3, and 4 for Logan Stieber. Today we covered title number 1, and it's going to be interesting for me is like how your perspective changed, especially from year 1 to year 2. Is like,
Mhm.
now you've got the target, even
Yeah.
though you're familiar with the target because you've been living it with it in your life.
Yeah.
Now you have the target.
Yeah.
You're on, and now the discussion has started. Can you be a 4-timer?
Yeah.
And it doesn't go away. So I think there's going to be so many other cool things outside of talking about the titles themselves, like how you navigated the next 3 years and what you learned from year 1 to year 2 and how you applied those things. So I think it's going to be really cool. I appreciate you coming in, and thanks for sharing your insights to the 2011-2012 season.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do it again.